All right, welcome back for part number, what is this, part three of our read along of No Country for Old Men. And in this particular segment, we're going to be covering pages 90 through 215. So chapters 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then next time we'll go chapter 8 to the end. So I did take a few notes on things that I wanted to highlight. This won't be as long as the last time. So essentially we've got Shigor, our villain, has tracked Moss, who's got the bag of money, has tracked him down, and they actually end up exchanging gunfire with each other. Both of them are wounded in the process. Shigor has been using he's got a shotgun in addition to his air tank, that he kills people with. He's been using a silent shotgun. And so they both take a hit, okay? Moss gets hit and the bullet just misses his liver, or the shell misses his liver, and Shigor is wounded in the leg. So they're both kind of out of commission for a while. Shigor ends up blowing up a car as a distraction so he can raid a pharmacy, and then he medicates himself. He's laid up for like 5 days. It goes into a lot of detail of everything that he does. Man, it's loud out here. But it was so loud inside, I had to come outside if I was going to get this done before I forget everything that I read. My kids were going nuts in the house, so this is life. It is what it is. So I apologize for all the noise. But next thing we know is there's this guy that shows up named Carson Wells, and he finds Moss because, again, Moss is wounded. Moss is in the hospital. This Carson Wells guy tracks him down. Carson Wells is a hitman. Evidently, he must have been hired to kill Shigor, I'm guessing. I can't really quite figure out if he's there to get the money bag or kill Shigor. Anyways, he tells Moss, look, he's like, I found you, Shigor is going to find you. The difference between me and you is that, he's going to kill you. I won't kill you. You give me the money, and then I'll kill Shigor for you. And so he gives him his number, his phone number. And he's like, call me, right? And we find out along the way as well that, I was wondering about people's ages. Find out through a conversation between Sheriff Bell and Carla Jean that Carla Jean's 19. She met Moss when she was 16 years old working at a Walmart. And we know that Moss is a Vietnam vet. We also learn that Sheriff Bell is a World War II veteran who did some fighting in France. I'm assuming he was at Normandy, probably. He's talking about France, so I'm assuming he's part of the D-Day invasion, either as a airborne paratrooper or he stormed the beaches. So he's seen some combat. Moss has seen some combat. And this Carson Wells guy, who's a hitman, him and Moss kind of share a bond of brotherhood, so to speak. I mean, Moss says to, so what does that make you, my brother? Because he finds out that they're both Vietnam vets. So I don't know when this story's set. I'm guessing that the story here is probably set sometime in the 1980s, if I had to have my guess. With Carla Jean being so young, she's 19 years old. Unless Moss is like a really old man. I'm thinking probably 1980, if I had my guess. Early 80s, maybe mid 80s. I don't think we're in the 1990s. I could be wrong. But I'm thinking the story's set in the 80s. Well, we get Shigor heals himself up enough to track down old Carson Wells. Confronts Carson Wells, our hitman, here in his room, the motel he's staying at. Then they have a conversation where Shigor basically says to him, quote, I wrote it down. He says, if the code that you live by, or here it is, if the rule you followed led you to this, of what use was the rule? So this is a real Heath Ledger's Joker, in Dark Knight. It's a real will to power, Nietzschean Ubermensch type mentality here. Like, your rules and your codes are stupid, and I'm going to show you how dumb they are. So this has become kind of a trope in a lot of modern villains now. It seems like the major villains that we're coming across in media are all these, nihilistic will to power type characters. So, but this is early. I think this was 2005 or something. So I guess this was kind of around the same time, right? I don't know. So there we got that. So he blows Carson's brains out. And then we get this really ridiculous, pretentious prose that comes out of nowhere. And I was just like, where did this come from? It's on page 178. I marked it down. So there is going to be a trigger warning. I'm going to read this very graphic scene here to you. So if you get queasy, you might want to skip ahead 20 or 30 seconds, okay? So we get Shigor. Carson Wells closed his eyes. He did close his eyes. He closed his eyes and he turned his head and raised one hand to fend away what could not be fended away. Shigor shot him in the face. Everything that Wells had ever known or thought or loved drained slowly down the wall behind him. His mother's face, his first communion, women he had known, the faces of men as they died on their knees before him, the body of a child dead in a roadside ravine in another country. He lay half headless on the bed with his arms outflung, most of his right hand missing. Shigor rose and picked up the empty casing off the rug and blew into it and put it in his pocket and looked at his watch. The new day was still a minute away. So this gets you into, it's some insight into Shigor, right? Like, killing a person and snuffing out their life is no different to him than somebody, it's no different to him than squashing a cockroach, right? It's just something that he does, like checking his watch. It means nothing to him. It's of absolutely no consequence. So there's the end of Carson Wells, Hitman. We barely knew you. I pictured Carson Wells as Matthew McConaughey. I don't know who plays him in the movie, but I was getting a real, like, all right, Matthew McConaughey vibe off of this guy. He just was, like, too cool for school, and he's gone now. Like I said, we didn't know him very long. But Moss goes to call Carson Wells and take him up on the deal. But it's already too late because Shigor picks up the phone in the motel and is like, you got to deal with me. He's dead. He's gone. And I'm going to kill you. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You give me the money and I'll let Carla Jean live. Because you're done. Your life is over. But I'll spare the girl if you give me the money. But, come lay it at my feet and basically die like a man, essentially. But Moss, he's still under some sort of delusion that he's going to escape or outdo this guy or whatever. So he takes off in a truck. He buys a truck, he gets it notarized, and he's off on his way. He picks up some hitchhiker, some young girl, lets her drive because his leg is all, mangled up still. He ain't doing so, or his liver, right? His guts. He ain't doing so well. And Carla Jean's worried. She knows where Moss is going. She calls up Sheriff Bell and she says, look, Sheriff Bell, if I tell you where he's at, promise me that everything's going to be okay. And Sheriff Bell's like, I'm a man of my word. Texas forever. And I was like, to the Duke, right? Some real John Wayne stuff going on here. So overall, I'm enjoying the story. It's a real Wild West type thing going on. It's just that the prose, it's really distracting me. So I guess I'm going to end it there for today. And I don't know what that artsy fartsy passage that I read to you about his brain, you know, all this stuff behind. I mean, that was, where did that come from? Like it's like a glorification of violence. It's almost like a poetry of put on your pretentious cap. It's poetic violence. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. I wasn't impressed by it. I actually laughed when I came across it because it came out of nowhere, and I was just like, yeah, this is him, like trying to show that he can be, I don't know, pretentious. It just came off as pretentious. So I laughed at it because it was so out of place. But I guess that's all I got to say today. We're going to find out what's going to happen because it looks like all parties are converging at this nexus point. Sheriff Bell knows where Moss is at. Shigor is headed to the same location. And Moss is going to be there as well. So we've got all three parties are all converging at this location. And that's where we leave off. And we'll pick up there next time in Chapter 8. And we'll finish the book. And then I'll give my final thoughts in review. And we'll watch the movie, No Country for Old Men, which I'm really looking forward to. Because I'm really looking forward to what the Coen brothers have done with this novel. Because I think the novel, like I said, is lacking on description. So you really need an actor to give life to these characters because they just come off as very flat, in my opinion. You need an actor to bring them to life because they're really just kind of cardboard cutouts, with the exception of Anton Chigurh. All right. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.